Let me just start again. Okay. Just mention what I just said before. Hi. I mentioned before that last week we looked at this project called Rigi, which in my opinion, it's a beautiful, beautiful project. I just, this is part of searching. We started with something last week. Remember, Daniel? And Jeremiah even walked with me a little bit. And I decided to stop because I didn't think it's good enough or promising enough. Moreover, it had a lot of old stuff that I didn't want to do and reinstall new stuff and fix it and didn't have enough promising element. On the other hand, this project, Rigi, it has several things promising, although I already discovered it on the React, which I'm not expert yet. They are using an old version and we will have to upgrade it. Before we get to it, but it does have really, really nice way of thinking. And this is the kind that you say, okay, I'll go through hell and you will go through hell, but this is not easy stuff. But the end result is that the end result is that you're getting a nice structure. What do I mean by that? Let me go back to here in a second. Here we go. Yeah, let me go to GitHub. I'll go to the GitHub. This is you already know what GitHub is. We played with that a little bit. If I ask, it's going to be empty again, and then we'll fill it up again. Okay. So why did I look at that one? Because I really did see some beautiful stuff in this one. This is beyond, in fact, even beyond certificate 3, but we will get there eventually. When you talk about deployment eventually, many times I go directly to the end and I see what eventually their architecture. By knowing how to read this document, I know how their architecture is of the whole system. It doesn't really mean much to you for now. I do see that they are putting Postgres, by the way. You can tell they're using old Postgres 9.6. The one that we installed, it's 11 point something or 12 already. But okay, they're using Postgres. I still don't really know why they're using also MySQL because Postgres, it's good enough. You can put everything in Postgres. I don't really know, but I will find eventually. Then they're using something that looks so naive and you have no idea how sophisticated. It's this engine called Elasticsearch. It's a giant. It's much bigger than Django, but it's on a total different topic called big data, machine learning, algorithms. But it looks like naive. And in fact, I do use a quite recent one. So my assumption is when they have started the project, okay, originally, if I can go backward, they have started with but Postgres is more advanced database. They didn't want to transfer everything to Postgres, so they kept both of them. There's no real reason to have both of them. Okay? I never do that kind of things. When I decide that something is better than the other one, I will never keep both of them. But I really don't know. I will check. As we go along, I will check more and more. Then that's their application. This is really the Django application. How does it work? It's really quite complex. I killed myself for several months to get Academy City to work the way I want it. That's not trivial at all. And it's connected to the other stuff. Then there is Nginx, which is a web server, which connect to the application of Django. Then they have another one. I never used it. I'm familiar with the concept, but I never really worked with that node. That's what we put the React on. Okay. Then they have something called count, and I'm not familiar with it. I will familiarize myself with. And then there's Redis, which is a different database that live on the RAM. And they're using it with replicate. That means that probably assistant to the Elastic engine. I will get to that and I will find out eventually. And then you have, that's really one day using Docker's technology, beautiful stuff. You can tell those guys in a high level. When you find somebody in such a high level, you say, well, it's worth to check. And that's what I meant before agile methodology. Agile methodology means, it's like in life. You learn something, try something, you work on something, you get a product, and then you start searching around. You find somebody else did something, okay, you explore what did he do or she did, try to see how it's related to what you do, and you edit. And you go like in a circle. Theoretically, with Django, you can do everything. With Postgres, you can do everything. But maybe somebody had a better idea. And why don't you take advantage of it? And now here's this the struggle that every developer, every innovator, every visionary person has. It's a struggle. Should I continue with what I know, or should I look around, keep looking? Now, if you look around and you don't find, you wasted time. On the other hand, you have another risk. If you continue with what you do, maybe somebody did it better than you, you know? And if he did it better than you wasted your time doing it the way you know. So that struggle bring you, that's what called walking in a spiral or agile methodology. It means continue with what you know, but you keep searching. And this is really beautiful. Now, by the way, I spent the whole weekend to learn what they have done, believe it or not. Guys with me, Brenda, Jeremiah. Yeah, I see Jeremiah joined us, I think. Daniel?
Yes.
Yeah. Believe it or not, I spent the whole weekend just to see what those guys have done. I realized how serious they are, and I got to the conclusion they were extremely serious. And then I said, okay, how do I approach it? How do you go about it? And then I will lead you as we go along. So concept number one, which you really should keep in certificate 3, is agile methodology. And we actually will experience. By the way, Brenda, and that's the topic of today, in fact, I just wanted to keep you posted on what we do. Like we started the LMS, the e-learning, and kind of I'm saying, let's stop a little bit. It's already stopping. Stopping is good in that point. We're searching. When you start, remember when we started that statistics application? And did you see how did we progress? We started with just downloading the data to Excel, from Excel to database. From database, we looked and we put it to see it in Django, and then we made it Ajax. And after we made Ajax, we added the chart. We didn't go immediately and do everything in one day. And now we even improve it, and we have one more improvement that I would like to add, and probably we'll get to that today. Okay? So
Okay.
so that's agile methodology, and that's a very important in the new life we live in. Another thing that I wanted to show that, in fact, we're really doing it all along. Daniel, remember we worked on the reduced food, we worked on Fab House, we worked on Bizland. It seems like we didn't finish anything. Am I right? The Fab House we really duplicated quite well. And the more we think about it, we can see that this website need a real serious upgrade to a lot of things that we already know how to do. We just hope they will go with us, and that would be a beautiful project because if you look at the Fab House Africa, most of the stuff they have, it's just giving you information. I talked to Jimmy the other day. I hope he will join us today. It's that one thing that they don't have and they would like to have is that person can click on a product and can send a message, I would like information about that specific product. And I will teach you how will you do it.
And I will teach you how to do it.
we have all the knowledge already. The second thing is how to, how to do a more interactive website with the user. They have none. The user is only getting information in the web house. And improving the web house, it will be a big deal. Eventually, we even offer them, when they get to know us, we will offer them type of analysis that Brenda is developing. We can collect the data from the database on which product they are selling, you know, that will allow them to even sell online. People put it in a cart. Remember we did the game store? In this year I just gave up because I didn't see that the level was too high. But it was you, I did some of the game store. We're doing a better one than a game store for for that company. So even Fab House could be a nice project for over a year. And a year from now, that probably will be one of the best websites in Africa. But that's called agile methodology. The way you go step by step. We already established to them that we can duplicate much better what they have done. Stage number two, we'll give them something they don't have at all, interactions of the user. Third, we will add analysis, and then the sky is the limit. And that's the beauty of the stage that you guys, lucky you, I'm saying it, and honestly I mean it, you are very lucky people. You are young, you're starting in technology which wasn't there 20 years ago, even not 10 years ago. And lucky you to jump right on time to study something that is fabulous for the next 50, 60, for the rest of your life. It will go with you. There are new concepts. They were waiting to be out. And now people are doing it. And lucky you if you'll be able to jump and keep up and continue developing and studying. So anyway, that was introductions on that I'm not really living this rigid. We will follow rigid. As a step before that, I will talk about this project. I will prepare it first. Then I will see if it's possible to install it on, if it's worth to install it on a computer that is not Ubuntu. In my opinion, everybody should switch to Ubuntu. And that's really what should be. And that's what's happening in Israel. All the high-tech companies are working only on Ubuntu. The mini computer I bought to Uganda, they're really what the computers that the high-tech employees using in Israel. Okay? And all of them using the same because then they all can share. Now that you learn GitHub and Git, you realize that if it works on, let's say, Daniel computer and everything is perfect, he uploads it to the GitHub, and then Brenda wants to download what Daniel has worked, and she also has the same structure as the computer on Daniel, it should work. You shouldn't get stuck. On the other hand, if Daniel is using Windows, everything works perfect on Windows. You upload it to GitHub, and Brenda is using Ubuntu. Theoretically, it should work. Practically, from experiences, it never works. And then you get stuck, and then you don't know what to do with yourself, and you kill yourself. And you try to solve it. It's a waste of time, big time. So a lot of companies here in Israel have decided to go on Linux. I'm using Ubuntu, but you can use any work perfect. If you use Ubuntu, or you use Fedora, or you use one of those excellent Linux, thereby one of those versions, they are really similar, very, very similar, just the screen slightly different, some parameter slightly different, not a big deal, but in one company, you always find all the consultants use the same computer. But otherwise, it's a nightmare. Okay, so that's for what I'm preparing for certificate 3. And that's part of the whole idea. By the end of certificate 3, you should be considered of almost a consultant. Okay, so I will prepare that and we'll continue from there. Okay, questions, guys, before we start what we really plan on for today. I want to finish with what Brenda is doing. Okay, guys, okay, so let's start. Brenda, why don't you take the sharing? Or what did we do last time? I gave you the sharing, is that right?
Yes.
Go ahead.
If this
Hold your phone. Jonathan, I saw Jonathan, I think, before. Hey, Jonathan, how are you?
I'm okay.
I don't see you. Now I see you. How are you, sweetie?
I'm okay.
You know you are the best student. You always come, you always listen. That's very good. Where's Mildred? Is she around?
She's coming.
Okay, she's coming. Sound like my wife. Okay. Is Daddy home?
No, he's at church.
Is he gonna be around? Tell him that I was looking for him. I called him and he probably was in an area. Many times he's in an area that doesn't have the internet. So if you talk to him, tell him I was looking for him. Okay.
Yes.
Anyway, let's continue. Brenda, why don't you take the sharing? Let me give you a permission.
Yeah.
Where's Daniel? Daniel, you already know by heart the whole things on Feb House?
Yes.
Okay, you need to make sure that everybody knows that. And I think you should have a section in the case studies, like Brenda is starting documenting. You should document the Feb House as a case study for next generation students. Now it will come, Daniel. You know, we need a really super star student. Not every student can get to your level. Don't take it for granted what you do. So eventually the good ones will come and you need to be ready by then. So now you know the Feb House, but I would recommend that you start documenting it. And when times comes, that will be a case study for students. And not needless to say, it will be hopefully for our customers. Anyway, let's go. Beautiful.
Plus maybe Dr. Amos.
Remind me what we got. We got to the point that go back to the code. Which part we got last time?
It
No, that's
was,
the business really.
I'm just closing.
Yeah, we got to the point we understood the whole structure. This was very important. We finally, I hope everybody got to the point that I understand this part. This is very important, like to make all those tabs. And then we have empty tab sections, the content of the tab. And then we learn this function, open source. We spent a hell of a lot of time on that, which was worth every minute this we spend on. All right, we talked about that. Then eventually we got to this. I don't think we talked about this function yet, but this function we spent quite a lot of time.
Okay.
Let's go back down and remind you. I think this was that one function. And we spent a hell of a lot of time on understanding this section. It was very, very important. Not trivial at all. Not trivial at all, at all. Is that right, Brenda? I think that's what we concluded last time.
Yes. We
Okay.
finished that function already.
I think we got just to this point. And now we didn't really talk about this one because there isn't really much to talk about this part. We will talk about this one in a second. This one is new for most of the students. But this one is really, we just copied it from, this one we just copied from a W3 score. You know, you
W3
can go
school.
over it and read it, which is not really hard. And this is very a nice, this is a nice structure you should really always familiar with. But this one it does, you know, when we look at the screen, you know, we have only two this time. But if I had several buttons, and you will see we'll use the same trick here. When I have several buttons, when I click on export, you know, okay, is getting me the export, and we'll see in a second why we got undefined. I think I did it last time. But see, this is marked. It becomes to be the active. When I click on the second one, I want to make all the rest, the other one, inactive. So now I have only two. I could have always did the other one to be inactive, but it's not a smart way because you don't know. Maybe Brenda later on might have more data and she will add more buttons here. And you want to write a general function that will go over all the buttons and turn them to be inactive. The export now is active. So when I click on the import, the next time, what I would like it to do is go over all the other buttons. And how does it do it? By the way, it gets, you know, it gets element. I always use get element by ID, remember? But you can get element by class name. And if you see tab content, what is the tab content? Let's go and look at what is the element that has tab content as a class. That's another way you can get element. If you notice when we creating the tabs, when we creating this one, the empty one for each, because we have only import and export, we give them a class tab content. Do you see that? We do the same
Yes.
things. If you have a good eye, you can tell that we also have for the buttons, export and import. This is the buttons for the export and import, okay? And we also give them a class tab links. So if I want all the buttons of this kind, I can just get element by class name. And the class name, I will put the name tab links. Or if I want all of those ones, I'll just get element by class name. And see, when you see other people doing work, you learn from them a hell of a lot. See, by seeing what Brenda now, let's say Daniel looked at this program and never really talked to Brenda. By looking at what she did, and let's say you don't really know what this one does, just go to the Google, look it up, just put it on the Google and read about it, and it will tell you. You can get all the elements by a specific tag, but pay attention. This part, okay, and this part, they are very almost a duplicate, just using two different. This one does for the div, and this one does for the buttons. What did they do? I usually, when I get something like that, I always make it plural because it really should have several, otherwise I don't really need the loop. So you should really plural because you should have several buttons and several divs. And what it does is using a for loop in JavaScript. And this is the way we write a for loop in JavaScript. For I0, it starts from the first one, is looping as long as the I is smaller than the length of this one. This is kind of an array, okay? It's an array of all the tabs, all the divs, really. So, and that has a property called length. So it's starting from 0 up to 1 before the last one. So this is really the number of tabs that you will have. And then after every loop, you add 1 to it. This is the way you write it in JavaScript. And hopefully everybody know by now. And even if you forget it, many times I myself forget, honestly. I go to Google and look it up. I write JavaScript, for loop, bingo, and I get an example. Many times I've been write W3 score because they usually have the syntax very quickly, and I can just look at the way you write it. Even if you forgot, no big deal. But just look at it several times, and then when you forget, it's easy. And then when I do a loop, I go to every div, you know, it goes to the first one, second, and it has a property style. And in the style, it makes all of them none. So in another word, what that one does, this one does, it makes everything disappear. It makes everything disappear, by the way. So let's try it. I'm gonna remove this one, by the way. I'm gonna remove it and put it back. I'm gonna remove this one. Okay. And I'm going back to here. I'm gonna refresh. And please look, when I click on export, it's downloading. I will fix that one in a second. Why it doesn't like me? Yeah, I don't say anything because it did download, by the way. It did download, but it doesn't show me anything. I click on import. It's downloading. See, you can tell that it's starting, but I don't see anything. Why? Because what this one did, okay, is making all the content disappear, none. The display is none, don't show it. So it's not showing anything. Moreover, it's making all the buttons non-active. It's changing, it's replacing the class name, it's removing from there the name active. If there is an active, it's replacing it. It's removing the word active. And if it doesn't have active, then it's these buttons are not marked. You see, it's not marked. Now it's really like kind of active. When I move it, you see it doesn't have that active. So I'm going to put it back. And then we'll talk about what does this one, how does it do it exactly. Okay, I just want to remove this. There's probably a view here. Yeah, here we go. Yeah, it makes sense because at the beginning it doesn't really have anything. Okay, so now let's see this one. All what it does really is make all the divs not showing. It doesn't mean deleting them. They are still exist. They are there, but they are not exist. Is not showing them. This one is making all the buttons to make none of them will be active. It's removing activations from any one of them. The truth of the matter is always there's only one. Supposed to be there's only one, but I don't care. I don't really want to start checking who is active. So I'm just making all of them inactive. And then this is a beautiful, and it's a new thing that I don't think we did before. Okay, we read the last tab. Okay, if you see tab source, where's the tab source? If we go up, now we're getting element by ID. We're going to get element by ID. And if you look, we have those tabs. You see tab and the source. One will be export, one will be import. So if I'm downloading data for export, this one will say, okay, get for me the export tab. And I'm changing the display to black. When I'm changing it to black, it is showing it, okay? And I'm gonna remove the second one for a second. I'm gonna remove this one, and then we'll see what the effect of this one. But one thing is for sure will happen. Anybody wants to guess? What happened now? When I click here, I will see the data that downloaded. I see that. But do you see this button is not active? It doesn't show active. I want to show it that a person will know that it was clicked already. It looks much nicer. So that's the objective of the second part. Okay? That's why we put this one. What this one does, some things, by the way, when I clicked on that one, when I click on the export, it knows who I clicked on. So I'm telling him the one that you clicked on, that becomes to be event that. By the way, you can use current target, or even if you use just target, it will work. This is a newer version. Both of them will work. And then it goes to the class name. It has a property class name. By the way, if you look at the class name, the button, I'm clicking on the button. So if you look at the buttons, we have two buttons, as we said before. This button had a class. It does not have active. By the way, if I write the word active, okay, if I want to write the word active here, you see what happened? Without clicking, even if I don't click, it will make it look, it will make it look like I clicked on it. Of course, that's not what I want, and then I will remove it in a second. When I refresh here, hey, you see, both of them, because in both of them I put active, both of them looks like I clicked on them. That's definitely not what I want. That's why I'm gonna remove it. So I'm gonna remove it here. And the one that I wanted to say active, it's only the one that I clicked on. So after I clicked on it, in the code, we change its class to say its class to add. By the way, you see why I'm putting a space here? Because I probably have another, I know that I have another class before it. So it will not, I'm adding, by the way, it's really like adding a string. I'm adding the word active to the class name. By the way, here, if you see here, everybody see here, I'm taking the class name and I'm, by the way, replace, I skipped it, okay? I'm looking for a place inside the class name where it says space active. If there is a space active, changes to nothing, like delete that part, okay? By the way, this really could be a good exercise. Let's go back, okay? And you can see now the meaning of it. If I really lift here, each one of them, all of them is active. Let's say, and that should be really a normal behavior, which should be really obvious to you by now. If I refresh, I will see like both of them are active. Okay, it's not really what I want, and I will fix it in a second. But if I click on export, first thing is going to remove the active from both of them. And then it will add it to only the export. See what happened? He removed it to the both of them. He showed me the data and made only the first one active. Okay, so, and if I will click on the second one, it's going to remove all of them. Now I put the import because I clicked on the import. And that's a very important trick that you should know. Of course, I don't really need this one. And please do go over it. You will use that tricks in many types of variation when you're building up an application. So that could be really a very powerful trick to use. Later on, we'll learn another other element that you will see I'll show you later on other tricks that you can utilize as we go along. But this is beautiful stage, Brenda. This is really beautiful by itself. That's summarizing the whole part. I think it's part 2. We divided it to 3 parts. One is uploading the data to the database, interacting with database. Second part was pulling the data and showing it on the screen. And now we're finally getting to the last part, which is showing graphs. And Wanda did a beautiful job here. So I'm moving to stage, the last part, which is graphs. When I click here, I want to show graph. I'm getting a message here. We'll talk about it in a second. I do, okay. And it downloaded the import. I need to click again. And then it shows me the graph, which is really nice. By the way, and now, if you have a good eye, you can see if I click on another one, is immediately showing the graph. The data of the export and import already there. You see, this is from the previous one, what we talked about last time. By the way, when I click on export and import, it doesn't download again. That was the problem with FabHouse. Every time you click on category, it's downloading the data again, okay? And we have a lot of work still to do there to make it look and efficient as this website, okay? But the nice thing is when I click even here and I get a graph, I don't download the data. I'm using the data right from this table. And that's what we're gonna go over today, okay? So we wanna understand how we structure this website such that you can, when you click on one of those, you can see the graph Okay, I click on this one, the graph change, and I click on this one, I get another graph. Moreover, Brenda already have made sure we have different types of graphs. Today we'll talk about only one type, and next time we'll talk about how do we add more types of graphs and how beautiful it becomes to be that when I click on this one, it changed the graph from lines to a bar and then to pies, which is nice. And then she, by the way, this is his own work. I don't think I interfere at all. Like Ned or she has done, I don't think I interfered. She added another type of graph, and she can add more if she wants, because she knows how it works. So today we'll focus only on one kind. And by the way, the beautiful part is remembering always what was the last category we clicked on. And that we'll deal with next time. Okay? Today we'll only understand how graphs work. And as I said, hopefully Brenda with a colleague, I think Mildred is joining her, will be expert on graph. And by the way, graphs will lead you to business intelligence. And I mentioned before why I did decided to go on Rigi. Those guys are using Elasticsearch. By the way, I do familiar very well with Elasticsearch. It's a giant, it's a monster in machine learning. And I didn't want to mix those two topics, but I think it's really the right place. It has a beautiful things that come with it. It's called Cubana. Spelled Kiban, and Cubana is allow you to make dashboards. And then you'll appreciate the Cubana because it allow you to do a lot of those graphs directly from a different type of database. Okay? But for now, this is beautiful, and Brenda will add more and more stuff as we go along. That will be a nice tool in the arsenal of Academy City that you guys can add to a website we continue developing and hopefully in customers in East Africa. I'm intentionally saying East Africa and not just Uganda. I believe one day you will be a consultant for all East Africa and maybe even all Africa. Okay, so let's focus on, after we got the data, we know that if I click here, some event on click is happening. And that on click has to make sure that the right data, meaning this data, going to be collected, organized, not only those, but also from the export of the same row. So if I look at the export, I have also meet and meet operation. So I should really collect the data for the export, the data of the import from the table. I don't want him to go back to the data server. No. Don't waste my time. Don't bother the server. Take it from this table because you already have the data. So we have to be very smart in the way we're naming it. When we created this table, we have to be very smart. And then it will help us to read the data right from the table on the same page. That's very cool. And let's look at it. How did we make every row? Let me show it to you here, and then I'll show you in the code. When we look here, when we inspect, pay attention to the name of that row. See how we gave it an ID export because it belonged to the section of export. And then every number, the next columns, we give it a name export, the same number of item. This is the item number. This is if it's export or import, and maybe we'll see import in a second. And for every year data, we just give it the name of the year. So if I want the 521, that number, I will do get element by ID. I will say export. I'll put the number of that product I clicked on. Okay, I can know it's from here, yeah? If I click on that number, I know the product. Okay, and then I will go over all the years from 2015 to 2019 and collect all the data. I can collect the same things for, by the way, it's going to for the import. We have the same things for import. If you see in the import, we also have a table. And that's being smart. You know, when you think about it, let me go to the second one so we see. See, I have the same structure in the import. Hey, by the way, it was 76, wasn't it? It's probably the next column. Let's use the same column. So if I'm in the 76, I'm going over all those ones. I can collect all the data. So we need to write a code that knows how to collect the data. But the way we named our field in the table, we did it in a smart way so we can collect the data from that one in an easy way. So let's look at it. Let's go back to review on how did we created that part. And as you recall, this is what's the beautiful about this function that Brenda have perfected. This part, when we get the document, we get a document, the data, and I will remind you in a minute, I'm going to go over it. We're getting a mini website. And that mini website is a table for export or import. And then we're putting it inside the tab for the export or import. Okay? And that was just mark it that is already downloaded, so we don't need to download it again. So we need to go and do review again on this one. And how did we do this one very smart? Okay? So I think this was index source. That's the one that we go over. Let's go over the view. So you can see that view, the generating that one. This one, isn't it, Brenda? Am I right?
Yes.
Yeah. Here, this one, everybody should be expert, and I will examine you on that, guys. Certificate 2 should be expert on this type of a function. It's a much higher level than certificate 1, but you already have done and seen many times those kind of things. We said we got, that one we submitted from the Java. Okay, this we used Ajax to send that information. So this is the way we send the source, and the source could be export or import. We send it to this function, and that's really eventually it really got to here. We got, if it's export, we going to the source file table, we're pulling only the row of the source, which is export. So source is really the row from the table source. It's not a names export, it is a row in the table called source. We have one table called source. Okay. We just printed it so we can look at it. By the way, if we look here, we probably can see it was printed. We'll see it in a minute. Here we go. You can tell there's many places. We'll go over it again. We printed it. You know what? Let me refresh it and show it to you again. I'll refresh and then we can, let me refresh. And if I click on export, we're getting to that function and let's see what it does. And here we go. Okay, so let's see what we got here. We got to that function, stage number 1, we're getting source and we're printing, by the way, we're printing an object, but you should know by now, since in the model, for that table, we have the function string. So since the function string exists here, when I print kind of the objects, the row, it will take the type. So it will show me just the type. That's because I have this table. Otherwise, it would just tell me object and a number. But this one makes it to show me exactly the title of that object. That's why we add that function many times. Okay, I hope that's clear. Okay. We can remove it by now because we already know how it works. We don't really need that one anymore. That's good for our understanding. And then later on, we took all the products. It's really all the products, and then we pull only the first one. And when we have a query set and we have we want a specific row, we can put the number of that row. Here I put 0, it means just give me the first one. So I looked at the first one and I printed it. So let's see how the first row looked like. It really is just like this one. All right, here we go. You give me this row. You see that? I'm printing the row. So tell me it's a number 0, live animal, other animals and divisions, and 0. It's really printing only the first 2 columns. This is the only 2 rows that I have when I'm printing that one. Let's look at that one again too. Let's look at the product. Control B. And again, we have also a string. And in the string, it does really just put the number and put the description. And that's why we see here, when we print the object, we just get really exactly what in the string function. It's showing me the number and it's showing me the description. So we can take that one away here, we don't need it. And then eventually, what we did, we said, okay, now you have another table called year data. I want you to bring me now the columns, okay, the rows for that specific product for the type of source. Remember, if it's export, I have a row from this table, and I'm telling him filter. This table, by the way, have all the data for all the years, for if it's export or import. And I'm telling this one, bring me only the rows when the source is export and for that specific row. So I'm supposed to get really 5 rows here. So let's look if we're printing it. So are we really getting 5 rows here? Yeah, we do. You see that? If you look at those ones, we do have 5 rows.
Yes.
The first one is for 2015, the next one 2016, it has the product, blah, 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 up to 2019. So this is beautiful. So this is also working. So we're putting all this data. I'm just doing a review of what we did last time. Okay. And I'm transferring all those one to this mini HTML. Why is it a mini HTML? Why do I call it? By the way, I always name mini, and I recommend you don't have to. It's whatever you like. But let's keep in Academy City, we'll use underscore when it's a mini. How do we define a mini HTML? By the way, this is really not a complete HTML. It doesn't have, you see, we're not extending it for many things. We're just making a table inside here. If you have a good eye, you see, this is only really a table. That's it. Okay? It's we're putting a header here, and only we're putting a table. So it's already a full HTML. It's only a part of HTML, which is only a table. And that's what we want, because when we click here on export, we would like this mini table to come. We're not downloading the import. When we click on import, we would like the same things for import. Okay? So how does it really work? Step number 1, we transferring source type, and that should really telling you that's why we're transferring this one. By transferring this one, we're telling him, okay, take the information from that row. By the way, I could even have, in this case, I could have transferred that the source name would be the same things and just use it. But here we just we needed to use it later on in the filter. So we use the source, but you can do it many ways. And this one is the row in the template. I just said, okay, for that row in the table, give me the type. And that's really the H3, by the way, it really is like it's like a title. And that's why it's putting here export. Everybody see that? That's pretty cool. One thing you can do, and just to feel comfortable, if you would like, you can even put here a underscore, okay? And complete this with underscore, Now when you refresh it, you will have an underscore under the word export, okay? Say it's have an underscore, and you can do a lot of things. You can make a capital letter, the first one, blah, 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 blah. And that's infinite stuff, okay? You can do with it. But that's not the objective of the course. Beautiful. So now we know that we use the title, and then we start the table. In the table, we always have a section for the first row, and we have all the rest of the rows. Okay, so we can even keep it this way. Might be even clearer, because here we do have the first row is for the title. So we're saying to him, the first column, write this one, write product, and then put all the years. That's why we really created the years here. It's the only reason. why we created those years. Otherwise, we don't really need it. So we'll use it again here in a different way. But the only reason why we created this one, it's just for we will know how many years we have in this database. So in the future, if Brenda will change the database and add also 2020, it will automatically will know that there's one more year. That's the other reason why we kept it. So this one, it shows me all the years as well. So the first two columns, and then I'm adding all the 5 years. And that's really does, basically that code does the first column. Everybody see that? This is the first column. Okay? Now, if I want to change the color, if I want that, I can change that, of course, and that will be in the style, but we're not going to deal with it now. Okay? For now, we want to focus on the really the hard stuff. This one is just making the title in a very smart way. And then finally, we want to put the data itself. And when we're building up the table, that's what I meant before, we want to build it up in a smart way. Because later on, when we click on one of the buttons here, on one of the things here, we would like to pull the data from the table and make the graph. Okay? So the way we're building it up, for every product, in all the products that we have, by the way, pay attention, we talked about it last time. Don't forget to put the all, although I mentioned that in my opinion, it's inconsistency, but you need to put the all here. You put all the products, so you're looping all of them. By the way, this is another language. This is Jinja. It's a loop in Jinja. Jinja is a special language for doing a template in Django. Okay? This really works before the page goes to the user. So in another language, by the way, without noticing, we learn. Okay? So after I take a P, by the way, from the P, I'm taking, the number. That's the first one. So this one by itself giving me only this column. For the first row, I put the 0. When I go to the next loop, I will put the 1. Then how do I get the second column? Second column will be, by the way, it will be just this one. This is the second column. Everybody see that? This is the second column. And in the second column, I just put the description. But pay attention, that's become to be very important. I start naming them. When I put the ID for that specific cell, I put the source, and I put underscore, and I put the number of the product, the ID of the product. That will help me later. And I want to know which column I am in. The truth of the matter, I already did a good job also in the naming this one, and in minutes I'll get there. So let's look at how does it really looks like here. We saw that before. Let's do right click here. And do inspect. And see what it does behind the screen. It gives the name ID export and the number of the I or the P. And for the next one, it's going to put the next one. It will put 76, etc., etc. Okay? So this is a very important understanding. It's so coincident why we named it. There's no rule. Nobody told me to do it that way. But that's really why you become to be really creative. And if you are really creative, it will make your life very efficient, easy to work. So then come to the last part, putting the data, okay? Putting the data for all the years. Now, what I do is for every Y in P dot product year data, I'm going to go and review that again and remind you how did I get to this name? This is a hard one. We haven't done it in certificate one. I did talk about it last time. I will go over it one more time. When we go to the models, look at this table. This table has a foreign key to product. And so that means this is the parent of this table. And when I want to go from a specific product to all the years of that year data, I have to connect it with product years data. Everybody see that? Related name, it's a very important because that's allowing me to connect from the product to this table. And that's the way we do it. That's why when I'm here, I'm looping for year in P, go over all the children of that product. The way I know how to do it is because I had the related name, and take all of them. By the way, I have 10. What? 5 for export, 5 for import. But I don't want all of them. That's why we had the if. We talked about it last time. I'm taking only the Y's that their source is export. The source is export when we transfer that, if you remember. Okay? So only those one I'm putting this one. So by the way, look at the name, the way I named it. I'm putting the value. Y value, it's really the number. But here I'm doing it's a very smart way of naming it. I take the source, I take the, which is really export or import. The second one, I take the idea of the product and I put the year. So I know really every number to access it. I will get to it if I want. I just do get element by ID. I'll put the export, I'll put the number of the product, I put the year, I can find the number. Moreover, I'll be even smarter than that, and that will be next. So see, when I naming it, I already thought ahead. I didn't want to be stupid naming. I could name it any way I want. But see, when I do right click here and I do inspect, by the way, not this, the numbers now. If I do right click and I do inspect, you can see the way I named it. And say, this is cool. Export, the number of the product and the year. And that's really is the number. If I want to pull that number, it would be very easy. And that's what we're going to do next. Okay? So that was very important review of what we did last time. After I get this mini HTML, it's being transferred by the view. By the view, it's being transferred to my HTML, to here, to the index HTML. I get it as a data. And that mini HTML, I put it inside the div, which with a tab export. And then I can see it, okay? Very good. By the way, the truth of the matter is I put it there, and then this one does the job to make sure that I see it. It turns it to active, and then I can see it. Okay, good. Now, I want to go back to this one more time. And I want, when I click on a specific row, I want that event to do something. In other words, when I'm here and I click here, I want the on click to happen. And then when the on click happen, I want to create the graph. But if you look, I didn't really put any on click here. So it looks like it doesn't do anything. How can you do on click? There's no event. I didn't link it. But if you look at the index, I did it a little smarter. I said, you know what? Since I'm going to put that mini page inside the div, okay, if you look here, I'm going to put it inside here. I can put the on click right here. And then every click I do, it's propagating up. That's called bubbling. It's propagating up and it's going to call the get chart function. And here, what I want these functions to do to make the graph, generate the graph. Okay? That's closing the whole circle, what we did last time and we reviewed this time. Finally, we're getting to the function that makes a graph. Okay? So I'm going to mark it, Control copy, Control F, and go there. And go to the next one. Okay, this is the function. This function is a very non-simple, it's not really a trivial one. It's a smart function, and it has really several elements. Element number one, okay, it's getting the data. It goes up to here really. And then this one makes the chart. So let's split it to two parts. Part number one is really collect the data from the table. That's really what the first part does. Okay, and after it's collecting the data, it takes this data, by the way, some way, and sorry, and is calling, depending on which chart I want to make, is going to create the chart. So let's understand stage number one. How do we collect the data for the chart? When we make a chart, by the way, if you look here, let me click import. And when I click here, by the way, I'm making two charts, one for the import, one for the export. So I need to collect the data from those two tables. So I need really to collect it from those two tables. And it really doesn't matter if I'm in the export and I'm clicking on that, I still want to be able to, I click on here, I get this chart. If I go to the import, it doesn't matter. If I click here, I want him still to give me the same chart. It doesn't matter which table I am in. I always want to make sure that I get the two charts for that specific product. So when I clicking here, the one thing that I want to know, which product did I clicked on? But remember, when we named this field, go one more time. When we named that field, we gave it a name, import, and then after that, we gave it a number of that product. So I know really what it is, the product ID in the database. That's enough to know who is I clicked on. And that one that I'm going to use or going to specify. So let's go back and look at the code. The only problem I have is when I'm clicking here, by the way, let's do it this way so you can see really. It's very important. Load. Let's get used to it. This is really earn that outer HTML. And this is will show me which button did I click on. So let's do it. Okay, just for instructions purposes. Okay, I'm going to click on export. I'm going to click here. By the way, not to divert my discussion, I'm going to open both of them. In a minute, I'll talk about it. I click on the first one. Please notice, I'm getting the button exactly on what I clicked on. Well, we know how to get data, get attribute, I will get the ID, get attribute of this object that I clicked on. I will get the whole things here. I will get export underscore 76. And then I will show you that a string, this is a string. In JavaScript, like Python, has a function called a split. I can split this string to two parts, export and 76. And I will take only the 76. That's what I'm care about. So let's do it. When we get here, okay, I show you that one. By the way, I will come back to those ones. What I'm really care, this one I will come back later on. That's not, that one will come for later on. Okay, so I will leave it by itself. I don't talk about it. I will talk about this one. I'm getting element, you see element, get attribute. That one,
Yeah.
ID, this is really the idea. We'll say export underscore 76. So let's print it. Let's do alert for this one as well. Look at the ID. And then I'm going to break it. By the way, if you see here, if I take only this part, let's take this one. You know, when I'm splitting it, it will have two parts, the 0 and 1. The 0 will say export, and the 1 will say the number. So let me do it. I will alert it twice. And I really strongly recommend you do the same. Just for, oops, sorry, Control V. I want to take only this part. And please notice that if I put number 1, it will take the second part of the ID. But if I put the 0, it will be the first part. So I'll put both of them so you can see it. 0 will tell me export, and then will tell me the number. So let's do it. Okay? By the way, after I do it, I take the number. I'm just kind of adding the import and export. So I have two variables. Those two variables, when you think about it, if I print them alert, and I will do im underscore ID, he will really give me the same ID for import and the same things will do for export. So I will print both of them as well. We can see the whole things. That's being really smart. Nobody really teach you that. And really creativity from you, okay, export. So let's see what we get now. Refresh. I click on export. I'm gonna click import as well because I don't really want to. I will talk about the other element later. I'm clicking here. This is the object. This is the component I clicked on. See, this part is the TD. This one has an ID export 76. So I use the function get attributes ID, and that's why I got the export 76. I'm splitting it. I did the split. I have two components. The first one will say export. The second one will say 76. I took the 76 and now I added one of them, the 76 to the import, and I added it also to the export. So I really do have the link, the two IDs that I need to use later on. So I'm going to remove all of that stuff. So I did my homework well. Now, in fact, the truth of the matter is I have the import ID, the row. I have the ID for the row in the import, and I have the ID for the row I'm going to use in the export. And that's why I did that one, by the way. And now see what I did. I do get element. In fact, I'm getting really that element. If that, by the way, this is a very important. Why? And now come the second part. Let me refresh. See, when I refresh, for the chart, I want the export and the import. If I click only the export, we're getting data only for the export. The import is not down. If I click here, I cannot get the data for the import. To make sure that the data of the import downloaded, when I click here, I want to check if the data already have been downloaded. I know it did not. So I made those two indexes, and then I'm checking and it says no import data. Why do I get it? Because I didn't download the data. So it's telling me it's going to do it for me. Okay, downloaded it. You see the import downloaded the data.
Yes.
And I can go back. Now when I click, okay, of course I will get the same things. I'm going to remove it in a second. And now I can see the graph. So let's see what really happening here. Okay, see, I can remove those two indexes. So we don't need to see it every time. What I do is I go into the import, I check, I try to read that part, that import ID. If it does not exist, it means I didn't download the import data. And therefore, I'm just giving a comment to the user. And then I'm getting a link to the button. See, this is very crucial. This is a hard code, by the way. I haven't taught you that one. I taught Brenda that one. And that's time now for all of you to see that. Since I didn't download the data for the import, I want to download it, but I want to do it smart. And what do I mean by that? Let me refresh that one again. By the way, how can I download the export? I can click the data on the button export. The data for the export will download. How do I download the import? Same thing. When I click on this button, we already have learned how does it do it. So I said to myself, let's be smart. I don't want to write the whole code again to download the data. How about if I tell the computer, please click for me on the import button. What do I mean by that? What do I mean by that? When I got to here, I got the data. When I click here, I need to get the data for the import. So I said, no import data. I'm going to download it for you. What does it really mean? It says to me, you know what? I'm going to click on the import for you. So you don't have to click it. I'm going to click. The computer, the program going to click for me. How does it do it? And here we go. You see, it's clicking on the import. And that's the data of the input came down. And that's the way you do it. You're taking a link to the button. You get element by ID. So imp element underscore, this is really a link to the button. And now to this button, I'm going to tell him, please click on yourself. Kind of sound like crazy. I'm telling him, click on yourself. How do I do it? I create an event. That's something new I haven't taught you. In JavaScript, there is an object called event. You can create new event. This is the way you create an event. You don't really have to go into that too much, just to know this is the way you create a new event of click. So I created an event called click, and I'm sending it to the button. So I'm creating an event click, and I'm sending it to the button. See the name imp underscore elm. I'm dispatch event, it's send. It's another word for sending. So I'm sending, in another word, what I'm doing here, I'm connecting to the button, I'm creating event click, and I'm telling him, I'm sending that click event to the button will understand he should click on himself. That's really what those 3 lines do. Beautiful. So that's one. If the import data was not down, it will download them. That's the objective of this code. Fair enough? Everybody got it?
Yes.
Yes.
Daniel?
Yes.
Jeremiah, is that clear?
Yes.
Very good. Everybody happy? Good. So now, what happened if I didn't click export first? I clicked on import first. Same problem. The export data is not down. So I need the same mechanism for the export. So when I click here, I want to check if the export is down. And here, see, he's checking the export. He found out that the export is not down. So he's downloading it. That's the objective of the second block. By the way, you can go over it. It's exactly the same. This one is checking if the import is down. If it's not, you will click for me. And this one making sure if the import. That's what the code up to this point, making sure that all the data is downloaded. If the all data downloaded, now become the interesting part, and that's what we're going to go over now, is how do I collect the data? I really need to collect 3 arrays, 3 lists, you can call them. One. So let's say, let's look at it now. When we go here, if I click here, I want first to have all those data, 2015, that will be my X. By the way, when we click here and it makes the table, the graph, please notice, what do we have in the graph? The graph, we have the X's, and we have the Y's for the export, and the Y for the import. So 3 arrays we need like 15 numbers. 2015, 16, 17, 18, 19, we almost need that. That will be our X. And we need the Y for the import, 5 numbers, and we need the Y for the export, 5 numbers. So I need to really, when I click, let's say on this one, before I can make the graph, I need to collect 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 numbers. That's for the export. But I also need to collect also for the import for the same, the dairy. Also those 5. How do I do it? So I need to go really read the numbers from there, from those, I need from this row and from this row. How do I do it? Now we use our being smart. Remember when we give names to every component, we did it in a smart way. So I'm creating 3 empty arrays. In the X, I'm going to fill up the X. Let's focus only on the X first. I'm going to fill up the X with the numbers 2015, 16, 17. So ignore everything's here. Ignore all of that. Look only the last one. Since X is a list, this is the way we do a list in JavaScript. The list has a function called push. Pushes mean add. add to the list. So I'm doing a for loop as we do in JavaScript. And I got the first one going to be 2015. So when I is 2015, it's going to push the 2015 to the X. That means the X will have 2015. When it goes to the next one, 2016, is going to push the 2016. So X, by the end of the day, by the end when we finish this loop, it will have an array from 2015. So let's do array. Let's say I don't think it would print it because it's an object alert, but let's do it maybe. I don't want it. And let's print X. X will really show me 2015 up to 2019. Some things I want to do with the YI for import and for export. But this one a little bit trickier. And that's why we did all our homework. I'm going to use the function get element by ID, which you already know. And now see why did I made the imp ID. If you look at this one, this is really what I created before. This one will have the word import, it will have the number, and all what I need to add to it now, the year. So what I'm going to do, I'm just adding the year as well. Now I can know that I am going to get the data for that product for that year. And that being smart. Okay? Let me print it for you. That's really, well, I really strongly recommend do it. Don't be afraid. So even if you destroy the code to what, redo it. Okay? See, it will go for every year. For now, it will do it for the import. It will do the same thing, and then what it does, after you get that element, we already know that every element in HTML has it has also the inner HTML. The inner will give me the value. It will really give me exactly the value that it's inside. That's the inner. The outer would give me also the PD and all of that. But I really want the inner, only the number, the value which is inside. Okay, that's why I use inner now. Okay, and then after I have the number, I just push it to the array. I do the same things really for the export. So I will do another one, alert, and by the way, I will do it two ways so you can really see and appreciate it. And here for the export, I'll just change it to export. At some point it will be so export and do export. And then I will get exactly the ID of the field that I want to, the TD that I want to pull the data for. And then, by the way, if you, let's say even print this one, why not? We'll do alert and see the numbers. And this one will be for EVE, and I'll do the same things for the import. So we'll see both of them. We'll see import first and then export. And then for each one of them is going to pull the data and push it inside the right array. By the end of the day, really, we will have three array. We're supposed to have three array filled with all the numbers we need for the graph. Fair enough? Well, let's see how it works. I think start. Yeah. Okay. Come on. Be nice. Okay. Let's refresh. Start the whole thing from over. I click on export. I'll click on import so we don't have to see that message. When I click here, see what happened now. I get the first element will have, it's 76, the product is 76. 2015, it's exactly the ID of this one. So I'm going there, I'm pulling that component. Oop, what happened? It didn't like me. Let me refresh one more. Did I got stuck? I shouldn't. Maybe I did an error. There's an error there. We're gonna click on this one. Okay. This is the ID of the first number. Okay. I'm doing okay. You should show me the number. Maybe I have an error. Do I have an error here? Anybody see an error here? I got this one, which is good. I got the ear. I got the I put the number 1 instead of I. That's my mistake, sorry. Okay. Flash it again. Should be fine. Click on export. Click on import. Click on one of this one. This is the ID. And now let's follow up. We should get that number. Okay, you see, we got that number. It's putting it inside there. So I'm going to now, for the export, same things. It's going to the other table and putting the number for the export. Okay, and you go to the next one. It's doing a loop for 2016. He is getting the next number and putting it in the array. He's going to the export, putting the number from there, putting it in the array, etc. Doing it for all the years. It's pretty cool. This is a good exercise for you to follow up along. See, finally getting to add. What is that one? That's for the input, is that right?
Yeah. It's export.
Which one?
Export.
That is for the export.
That's for the export, you're right.
Export.
Correct. For the import 2019, you will see 31. Here is this number. You can't really see it because the other one is hiding, but it gets the numbers right from there as well. Okay. Now that we collected all of them, I'm getting first of all the X. You see the X 2015, 16, 17, and now he's collecting all the Y. This is really the YI. By the way, if you look at those numbers, here it is, we're collecting them from the table. We didn't go to the server. We didn't bother the server. We want as less work on the server as possible. If I already have the data on my computer, why should I bother the server? So I collected the data right from here, which is a smart way to do it. And the next one, I will get for the import, for the export. This is the numbers for the export. Now I take all of those, send it to a function of graph, and the functions of graph will do the graph. That's the way we design it. And okay, and that's what we'll do next time. So far we have learned, okay, how to build up the mini HTML in a smart way. So it will function like holding the data for us without we having to go back to the server. And then we collected the data in a smart way. And after we collect the data, okay, we collected the data. We basically have 3 arrays, which is really what we need only. That's the only things we need to make a chart. And next time we will see, in fact, if you have a good eye now and you look at that, okay, we're calling a function called get pie chart. And this one we're transferring, if you see all of them, we're transferring to it, okay, we're transferring to it the same data. So all those functions have something in common. They're all expecting to get the data. Those 3 things that we built for that. Okay. So all of them will be very similar in a sense. You know, we have make a pie chart, lines, bars, and Brenda have made all those functions. But if she wants to add another type of a chart, she can just add another one. Next time, after next time, I will teach her a trick, how you can make that code much more elegant. Okay, we'll make that code a little more elegant. So you don't have to repeat all of that. You can make one line, 2 lines, and it will be general function to, you will know how to go to the right place with one line. But this is a good for these stages. We said agile methodologies, do something, it works, and improve it and make it better. Okay, so what we learn is how do we get the data. Next time, we're gonna focus, I thought maybe we'll finish today, but I think it would be too much to try to cover also this function. I thought I would finish, but next time, well, I'll focus on this one. We understand it. Then we can go and look how the other one look very similar. We'll do it in the next session. Okay? 4 elements detecting the data, the 3 elements of the data, and we give him a title. By the way, if you have a good eye, the element we clicked on, the inner is exactly the title. This one it really is nothing but this one. It's the title. If I click on this one, it will take the meat. That's what the inner HTML of that specific element that I'm clicking on. The element is really, we made sure that it's really the one that I clicked, and it's inner HTML. It's exactly the title. That title, we want it to be here. So that's why we're transferring it to the function. And inside the function, we will show it. Okay, so next time we will talk about this function. Fair enough? Everybody happy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, here is a function, first function, and this is really, we're going to go to here. I will talk about charts, generally speaking, the lines, and then you can see all the rest are very, very similar. Okay, we use a library called Plotly. It's a big company, by the way, it's a huge company that does a lot of graphic stuff. So we're enjoying that library in JavaScript to make charts, which is really cool. Okay, questions, guys? Let's remove this one. What you said, Brenda? We don't really need to show those ones all the time. We already understood that we, yeah, I think I removed that. That's okay, good. Good.
There is one question.
Yeah, go ahead.
We tried integrating the application into Daniel's computer, but then you don't know if we're missing a library because the function gets us data wasn't working.
Which one is not working?
Maybe on Daniel's computer.
Ah, so you copied everything to him, and which function doesn't work?
That gets fetching it from the database, the mini template.
One more time, which function can you point out? Go ahead, point which function doesn't work on his computer.
Let him share his screen.
Okay, let's do that.
So when I try clicking on import,
Yeah, go ahead, show your screen. This is your screen, Daniel?
yes,
Whose computer is that? Okay, go
it's
ahead.
my computer.
Yeah, go ahead, click. Nothing happening.
So when I, yeah, nothing.
Okay, so how will you go about it? You go to the pie chart, go to the index. The index, no, go to the index HTML. Yeah, double click on that one. And now you really want to, let me take control also. Okay. You want to say to yourself, okay, something doesn't work. What doesn't work? The click. So how about, I want to go the basic things. Go to the very, very beginning. Let me minimize that one. Okay. When I click on the export and import, where the first clicks go to? Okay, by the way, it goes right to here. It's supposed to get to this function. this function really getting activated. So I do, usually what I do, I make a trick. I don't know if I showed that to you. Many times I do a trick, I write alert, semicolon, don't forget the semicolon, otherwise it will not work for you. And I put the number 1. That's it, but I set my time. If it works, I really want to know if this one is being called at all. So I go to there. I got to this function, the only things I will do, you know, even go before. I go here and I just write alert. I write some number 9. So if I see number 9, then it means that my function have been called also. So now I go back to here. Refresh the page. See, this one should be called. The number 1, I should really see it because it's immediate after the click. Oh, I don't see it. So I really have it. No, it does. It's just very slow. You get me the number 1. Now I want to see if I see the number 9. I click on it. I don't see number 9. So I probably have an error here. I have a problem with the function itself. Could be many things. So what I usually do, as you know me, I will go here and delete everything in the function, just make it empty. I don't really know what the error is. Right? I'm going to delete everything. Now, automatically, it should be really cold. It should be working unless I have an error in the way we built up the function. Right? So let's go back and try it again. See if I get those 2 numbers. Click on input. I get the number 1. I should really see number 9. I don't see number 9. That means my problem is not really inside the function, it's going to the function. So let's look what that could be. It must be in here, isn't it? It must be in the place of the function. Because see, I do get the number 1, but when I call this one, it's not being done. So the error must be here. Let's look at the, by the way, if I do right click and inspect, let's see how it looks like. Let's look at the function. I have, it looks fine to me, by the way, open source event. Import is getting in just fine. So that's really should work. I don't really see why not. Open source event, comma, import. Everything looks fine to me. Am I right? I don't really know what's the problem. You know what? Wait better. Let's go step by step. How about that? That should be called, that's a simple function, open source. So when I go here, it should really go there. There's nothing here. Maybe this one. Don't put anything there. It's a simple function, and it should really give me the number 9. Then otherwise, let's look at that. And flash. Click on import. Get the number 1. I really should get number 9. That means I have a really serious problem. Not really, it could be even, in fact, easy problem. It's not in the function itself. So what I usually do in this point, because I don't want to delete the whole things and then lose everything, I do Control S, bring back everything's back, okay? And make a copy for myself, because you can take the copy from Brenda, yeah? What I usually do, I just make a copy, because most likely it's going to be a very easy problem. Underscore annotate. Okay, so I have a copy, so I don't need to worry. Okay, I don't need to.
Same code.
Okay, so I'm going back to my index, and most likely we do have a problem in one other function. Okay, look here. This one is probably okay. This function is probably okay. For the second, it's okay. This problem is probably okay. What I'm going to do is I'm going to delete all the other functions, all the charts. Okay, move on. Delete more. So far, so good. So this one is really downloading the data. I want to focus on downloading the data. I don't really care about the other stuff. I don't care about this one as well either. Okay. I just want to find the error. So I'm going to remove. Let's leave those ones for now. It's not bothering me. And what is that? The name. But I'm going to delete everything. I'm going to delete sleep. I'm going to delete everything here. Because nothing is really working for me. And I'm not going to miss. It's probably some error somewhere. By the way, did you copy the file right from Brenda?
Yes, that was the file.
Yeah, that's why it's surprising.
We thought it was the libraries missing, but we downloaded most of the libraries.
But let's say, let's move on. I can do more. Just take the whole things out of here too. I don't really care. I just want to see why that function is not being called. Like I'm going to really like kind of an empty page. Am I right? I have nothing.
Yes.
It should work. I mean, it's because I even delete this one. I don't really care about anything. It's not really going to affect anything. I don't really want anything here either. Couldn't be anything that give me a hard time now. Am I right? Moreover, in this function, where's that function? See this one, I will even make it also paralyze it. Doesn't take any variables. That has to work. It would be really strange if it doesn't work. Could be, maybe something else. But to me, it looks like it should work anyway. So let's go back to here. Refresh. And click on import. I get 1. Okay. You don't get the 9. Doesn't make any sense. Am I right?
Yes.
So what do you do next? So everything is empty. This is not going there. Hey, maybe this part is a problem.
Dr. Amos.
Yeah. No, hold on a second. Let's do it even simpler page.
I know
You probably have an error there. I don't really care about this one. Doesn't make any difference. It has to do with the fact. See what I would do if I were you. Okay, I'm puzzled. Am I right? Okay, I'm puzzled. There's two. So what you can do is to say, okay, you know what? Inside the body, let's get the script. Okay, this is standalone by itself. By the way, this one is being embedded, as you said, it's probably is the reason in your other things that you're extending. So the problem might be here. Or maybe you didn't misspell this one, or I don't know what. So DOM ready. That might be the reason. But I want to check it before that. I'm going to make Control V. And I'm just going to give it the same name. Removing all that stuff. And I'm going to call this one 1. And I'm going to call this one as it is. Remove this one as well. So we won't have any errors. And let's see, how do I do it now? To make sure, what is my problem? So I can always do that if I want. It doesn't make a difference. I can say string, and let's focus on this part. That's where we have a problem. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do slash, and I'm going to put a number 1 here. Second, copy it. I'm going to put number 1. That's what we'll be calling the function in the script internally. This one is calling the function which is in the ready. So maybe your problem is here. Okay? So we'll see. And eventually, you know, if everything works fine, I'll re-alert again. It should work. But most likely if I have a problem, it will not call it. Okay? So I will print 11. And by the way, just to make sure, here I put in output 91. That would be 9 and here the 191. Now let's see. It's totally empty. There's nothing in there. I click on import. I got the number 1. I got the number 9. It's interesting. So the point is already in the clicking. This function is working. But this is inside this page. This one is the extended element. So I have a problem in the extended element. The way I extended this part, that is the problem. Got it? That's it. Let's run it. Sure. That means this function is not, this block is not working. You can prove it to yourself again, by the way, without all what we did. You can just write here, open source, and it should really work. It should show you 91. Or moreover, does that part works at all? You can just do alert and put a number, any number, 5. And you know what? Let's do it even better. What the hell was the whole thing here? Is my block working? Alert should be called as the page loaded. If this one, if I don't see the number 5 as I refresh the page, then I have a problem in the loading. Yeah, it doesn't call it. That means I have a problem. The problem is right here. Now, what is the problem here? Do I have DOM ready? You should. So let's go into the extended. What are we extending? Base Economics HTML. Did you copy that one also from Brenda?
Yes.
Then you should have the same things, is that right?
Yes.
That one looks fine. By the way, we have main, we have other app. Let's call it other app 1.1.1.1. Let's see if that one works right. Fresh. Yeah, so that's working. You are extending correctly. And here you have a block, you see? Block DOM ready. Now let's go back to the base. That's one you didn't copy from here most likely, and that's probably what the problem is. Where is it? The base should be in the template. This one you didn't copy from here, and that's probably what your problem is. Do you have that section there? Let's see, DOM ready. Yeah, you do. There's DOM ready. Hey, where's the arrow?
DOM ready.
It should be here. You didn't copy that one from here.
Yeah.
But you see how I went over how to solve it? That's more important than really finding the error. Your base, it was the old one. It should really be here, but make sure your base will be like Brenda's base. I don't know if we did more changes there. I don't recall. Okay?
Yeah.
And now you learn a hell of a lot, by the way, by doing this exercise. You go now and you see it will work. It should work. If I do refresh, hey, I got the number 5. You got it?
Yes.
Now everything should work. Go back to here. That really was the error. It wasn't really an error. I don't think I taught you that one in the course. And I think I only showed it to you. But that's what I said, guys. Go and here we go. Take away the 5, put back the second, Control Z. Now you'll see it will work. Nice even. You get the 5. There we go, escape. Get the 5, you get 91, because those two function. When you click here, it's going to show the 1. It's going to show the 1, 9, and 91. Then we show also the last number, 11. Pretty cool. So everything is really working. What you can do now, already, that's why we kept a copy, because this is really kind of error that, most likely it's an easy error. It is an easy error. I intentionally solved it slowly so you can see the process, because you never really know exactly. So I'm going to do Control A, Control copy, go back to here, Control A. Now everything went back. Okay. I say that here everything went back. Refresh. 1, 9, undefined, and you got it. Fair enough.
Yeah.
I think this was a good day. It was a very good question for everyone. And I'm glad we have it on the recording now. I'll upload the recording. And when I think in your write-up, put all those recording there as well. So when somebody is doing, I'm going to upload it, and please do put it there so everybody can see it. Okay. Okay, guys, questions?
No question.
Who is with us? Oh, Jimmy is with us. Good. Good to see you, Jimmy. Yeah, Mildred also with us. Good. Good. So when we are, okay, I think I will give you one more session. We'll do the exam on next Sunday. Because I do want to finish this one. We didn't go over the graphs. And the exam going to be on those two programs, as I said. Web browser, everybody should be expert, and on these graphs. Both of them are really extensive. They're not simple. They have a lot of JavaScript stuff. You will see if we end up going into the direction of adding React, you will see React is all JavaScript. React is like Django on the client side. And JavaScript, it's like Python. So you can think about the analogies like that. On the server, we have Python with Django as a framework. Then if we add React, I did a lot of tricks. I have my own many sophisticated tricks that I use. That's why I don't go to React. I think a lot of things they're doing, it's unnecessary, complicated, unnecessary. But we'll see. We'll take whatever works for us the easy way. And I developed those functions that can make it so clean and easy to implement from JavaScript. But you will see that React is just like Django. It's the equivalent. If we go that way, I'm still examining it. I'm not sure. There's a reason why I hold back on the React. There's a lot of other frameworks like Angular. You will see them online. And I like to keep them clean. So when I do it, I create even more sophisticated than the React does. I haven't gone into how you create an object in JavaScript that make a lot of very special things that I will teach you when we get there. But that's stuff I developed, something I developed 20 years ago, which works beautiful. But it's always good to look at how other people do things, learn from them. They are smart people. Those people are very smart. And it doesn't matter how smart you are. You could be the smartest person, okay? Still, you have a lot to learn from other smart people. That's the idea in life, okay? You want to be smart, but you always keep your brain open to learn. That's why I tell you, study in a group. Study with another person. And you could be the smartest student. You still have a lot to learn from your friend or colleague, okay? And vice versa. Okay, so I will examine the React and then I decide if I want to go that route. There's one more element which we'll do in certificate 3. If you remember, we started the certificate and I showed you the window that I did for the whiteboard. I showed you the window, I put the video inside. Remember that?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one we started. And then I hold on, then I said, let's wait. Now I can do it with all the tools you guys have, but that won't be smart. There's one more element, and we will do it in certificate 3. That's why I didn't want to push too much in certificate 2. We'll learn object or classes in JavaScript. The truth of the matter, even the language of JavaScript have evolved over the years. In JavaScript, an object or a class, it's a function, which is really confusing. And there's a way how you do inheritance, like we did in Python, if you remember inheritance. When we do a table in Django, we always start class, we give a name, and parentheses, we put mothers, not mothers. We inherit it, okay, in Python. You can do very similar idea in JavaScript, but the syntax is very different. It's very powerful. And next certificate, I will show you how you can create smart object, your own, and that will manage the screen. That will manage the event. And that will, when smart person is doing a better application than others. And when you develop a very good habit of how to work in the right way, you become to be so effective and efficient. And immediately you do. Daniel and Jeremiah have gone through a process how to take a web page and making it like a template for a lot of customers. You know, we took everything and put it a link to a data. Is that right, Daniel? But now we know already. In fact, the proof was when we met the Uganda towns for the cities in Ivory Coast. All what we had to do is adding another row in the countries. And then from the countries, we have all the towns, but we do it for Ivory Coast. And then the whole thing works. That's amazing. And then I link the domain So, but everything works the same things. That's, you don't see it really out there. I haven't seen it, anybody doing such a things. I developed that methodology 20 years ago, and it works beautiful, beautiful. It's so powerful, and that's what I hope Academy City will have things that nobody else can do. Then people will start discovering us. Students will start discovering us, and businesses will start discovering us, but it's a process, like everything in life. It took us so many years until I discovered you guys, and you discovered me. Is that right? So it will take a little time until people will start discovering that there are really good students in Uganda that know very valuable things for their business. And we're just starting, by the way. And you will hear this sentence from me, we just started all the time. Because every time you progress, there's so much more to do. And that's why I said, when you learn those stuff, you will have a job for the rest of your life. Because there's so many beautiful things you can add along. Okay? Good. Jimmy, you will touch base with the lady in Feb House and let me know when, and hopefully we'll get that one. I don't know if you already had that or no.
I'll get there tomorrow.
Okay, let me know. I'm available, by the way. Tomorrow I'm quite available. Okay. And now, next session, I would like to add another section before Wednesday. Wednesday, we do a review for everyone. Certificate 1, whoever needs to take the test, will do a test for certificate. So I beg all of you, the student of certificate 1 and the student of certificate 2, to help the student of certificate 1 as much as possible. Okay? So I want them to get to the highest they can get. I know that Mark is trying very hard. I think Fezio gave up. He gave up because he felt that the level is too high for him. I think he should not have given up, but you know, part of life is what makes a good runner than bad runner. It doesn't depend only on your muscles, it depends how can you really tolerate. Some people cannot handle the stress, which is normal. By the way, I really wish you to get one day to a PhD program in Chicago or MIT, Harvard, Stanford, those one of those really serious universities. And I always said it, the one that graduate is not necessarily the smartest student. The one that had the tolerance to handle the stress. I have seen students collapsing, my God, that literally couldn't handle the stress. Which make a lot of sense. You know, if I put a lion in front of you, most likely he'll run away, which might be the wrong things to do. Maybe if you have a stick and you show it to the lion, that's the minimum you can do. He might leave you alone. I don't know. But running away, you definitely not going to be the solution. And I will finish with the joke. There were two friends in the jungle. They saw a lion and they start running away. His friend, one of the guys said to his friend, "Why are we running? He's going to catch us." His friend said, "I'm not trying to beat the lion, I'm trying to beat you." You got the joke? See, they were running away from the lion. And one of his friends said, "We have no chance, the lion is going to get us." So he said, "I'm not trying to run away from the lion, I'm trying to beat you, which means if I beat you, he's going to eat you, and I'm going to go the way." You got it? So it's the true in business as well.
Yeah.
In business as well, you try to be the best runner. You cannot be the lion, but you want to be better than the competitors, and then you survive. Okay. We will meet, I know, we'll meet Tuesday. Is that okay? Tuesday, give you some time to catch up. I will upload that video. I'll send you a link. Brenda, please collect all those videos that relate to your project. Daniel, collect all those videos relate to yours. You put them in your section, in your case study. I think we did open a case study for Feb House, didn't we, in Academy City?
No.
No, let me just double check a second, just to make sure we do. And that's your responsibility. The team that does the fab house. Okay, let me just double check. I am walking to the stage. You guys will redesign all those screens. I did the functionality, but I don't have a good eye for design. So we did case studies, didn't we? We have case studies here, didn't we? Where's all the case studies of certificate? Where did I put the case? I think maybe certificate 4. Did I put them? No, those one are hard one. Yeah, that would be certificate 4, believe it or not. But this is intelligence. It's a whole course by itself. Cellular, it's a different type. You know, you chat server, homo. But why did I put the case studies? I forgot. Anybody remember?
You did.
I put it here.
You did.
Well, I remember.
It was mine that you put, but for that
Which one?
you put my project, but for Daniel's case you did.
No, but I open a place so you can upload your data to that place. What did I put case studies?
Mine was
Well, how do you go to yours? Let me give you a. What? How do you go to yours? By the way, what is yours?
under the graph.
Under what? Which number?
Graphs.
9?
No, not that. Number.
No, we put it a case study. Yeah, we put it here in certificate 2. It really should be in certificate 3. We'll reshuffle it later on. So we have one case study, export and import, real life web application. What did I do there? No. So I need to add one. Okay, let's keep it here. Okay. And I'm going to add one for you, Daniel. See how nice it is. This I did one of the first things that I did when I built up the Academy City. This one you do not have. Those guys don't have that sophistication. But they do fab, house, and fab house. How do you call it? Africa. Is that right? And the beauty here, and what it does when I refresh, it does all the work. It does all the work behind the screen. It's a really hard code, by the way. Hope one day you'll learn it. You have another, you see, you have another folder now. And the whole things work the same things. Like for, you're going to go, Brenda, you're going to go to your export import and you put the whole things here. Please do put stuff here. You know, make progress. It's hard. Writing, it's very hard. But try to put and write. You know, spend time on writing. Even if it doesn't come right in the beginning, it's okay. Start putting the links to the videos, you know, and build it up like a course. It's going to be a course, believe it or not, eventually on its own, because it's going to turn to a business intelligence. When we learn business intelligence in the certificate 4, okay, which is, I used to teach 3 courses on business intelligence. Now I shrink that to less than a course. But this could be excellent way of building and you grow with it. Okay, so start writing because you will forget. There's so much there. You will forget. Some things for you, Daniel. You go into the fab house, start filling it up. And the beautiful things now, it works exactly the same as for Brenda. You start with a plus here, you put a style, and okay, and then under it, you can start building up text and start with intro, and you change the intro and you walk. It takes a long time. You know, put introduction, blah, blah, blah. Tell what that project is about. See, I misspelled it, of course. It's okay. Okay, and then start typing whatever. Put the links, okay? You can talk about the topic. You can write the topic 1, whatever it is, and whatever we have recording, add the recording in the bottom so somebody can see. Eventually, it will be good for students in the future. Got it, Daniel?
Yes.
And you can share, Brenda and you guys, eventually, I would like you to have a good microphone and start doing your own recording, but it will take time. Okay, for now, we have at least the framework of Academy City. That's why I don't want to take their framework and just replace. No, we'll combine the good things they have done with the good things we have done, and we have a better system than theirs. And that would be nice to contact them in that point. Okay, by the way, I'm going to be in Chicago 2 weeks from now for a week. Going to meet a lot of good friends and very smart people, amazing smart people. And my hope is one day when I go to Chicago to see you there as a student for a PhD. You just have to dream. If you don't dream, you will never do it. Okay, send you some pictures, but I will be with you the next couple of weeks, and then I will be gone for a week. So we talk on Tuesday around noon, something like that, okay? We finish your project, Brenda, and then I will give you an assignment, which will be a very hard one. I'll lead you and direct you a little bit to even improve what you have done with the charts, okay? And see you. George, is George there? I think I saw George, didn't I?
Yes, it is.
George, let's talk on the phone about another 15 minutes. Is that okay?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Okay.
Have a good one. And I remind you guys, 2 things. I'm talking to all of you. Academy City is your home. And Academy City will survive only if we get excellent student as you are, and we get excellent customer. We don't want everyone to be our customer. Sometimes a bad customer is worse than not having any, believe me. We want really good customer. It takes time, but we have to start spending time on that as well. Okay? Okay, have a good one, guys.